Everyone, welcome to another edition of Pele Yoetz. Today we are on the letter Bet, and we're talking about the synagogue, we're talking about the shul. And it says that the mitzvah of rising early in the morning to go to the synagogue is one of those things that a person eats its fruit in this world, and its principle remain intact for him in Olam Haba. And the statement in the Talmud in Berachot 8a is well known, and this early arrival, staying late in the synagogue, is what benefited the Jewish inhabitants of Babylon to achieve length of days. Likewise, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said to his sons, "Come early to the synagogue and leave late, so you will have merit in length of days." A person who is among the first 10 men arriving in the morning prayer receives a reward equal to all the people who come later. The Zohar Kadosh in Truma 131a especially praises someone who strives to be the first person in the shul, and he stands at the level of righteous man, and it is a great rectification for any blemish to his brit milah. He becomes a beloved friend of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and whoever heard of such things and will not make every effort to be the first, or at least among the first 10 men in the shul, to provide satisfaction to his creator, who rewards those who will do his will. So here we see it. It's like the old added saying, the early bird gets the worm here. It says there are many people who come early to the shul and could be among the first 10 men, but choose to sit outside the shul courtyard and engage in idle conversation. They leave it to the others their potential reward and pay no attention or care that someone else enters before them. There's a lot of people like this, and especially in our generation, especially because we've not studied the way we should. We didn't grow up the way our ancestors did, really understanding and knowing the Torah, so you know what the reward is. And instead, sometimes I think we just think I'll come in as late as I can, make it for the Torah reading, and then I'll be able to leave as soon as possible. But this is a big mistake. And it goes on, it says, this is because they do not recognize the true value of this mitzvah, and there are others who transform the shul courtyard into the shul of ignoramuses. Very strong word. So it says, they sit there on Shabbat and Yom Tov until the Chazan reaches Baruch Shemar, and only then enter into the sanctuary and catch up by skipping parts of the prayer and pray just by themselves without a quorum. Woe unto them that they have brought evil upon their souls, and a bad and bitter will be their abandoning of Hashem. Someone who has the ability to protest should do so. This is one of those things, and he spoke to us about this in previous chapters, about when we see something wrong and we don't say anything. We just let them going and we say nothing about it. And we should be protesting when we see this kind of behavior. So it says a person who is God-fearing will not sit with them, and it is known that they said about the Arizal that was not among the first 10 to arrive at the shul. This was because there were people who came before dawn, and the Arizal wanted to arrive to the shul wrapped in his talit and crowned with his tefillin, and this could only be done after dawn. So this practice of going from one's house to the shul wrapped in talit and donning tefillin is lavishly praised in the Zohar Kadosh, and they announced before him, give kavod to the appearance of the holy king. However, regarding someone who enters the shul without tefillin and declares, I will bow in fear of your holy sanctuary, Kadosh Baruch Hu proclaims, where is my fear? This person testifies falsely against himself. See the Zohar Kadosh in Parshat Vehektanan, page 265a. So it says, fortunate is a man whose exit from his home wrapped in his talit and crowned with tefillin. He should not be concerned about being among the first 10 men in the shul. It is proper to delay at home in order not to don his talit and tefillin while it is still night, especially in the winter when the moon shines and it is cloudy and requires extra caution. At least one should put them on in the courtyard of the shul if his home is far away and he's concerned about haughtiness or the mockery of scoffers. In any case, one should not enter the sanctuary without his tefillin. So here it is. If you're not going with a talit or your tefillin, then you should be among the first 10. If you are donning the crown, you're coming in crowned, then it's preferable that you wait. It says, prior to one's arrival at the shul, he needs to ask permission to enter by reciting the verse in Tehillim 5:8. And I, in the abundance of your mercy, I will enter your house. Not like many common people who do not recite it at all or only after they enter. One should stand at the doorway of the shul, like a person who trembles before entering the house of a lofty, exalted, awesome, and frightful king who asks permission to come in, reciting the verse. And in the abundance of your mercy, also prior to the verse, one should say the morning brachot. For if he has not said the brachot of the Torah, there's an opinion that he may not recite any verse. So this is very early on in the Siddur. When you're blessing the Torah, it's stated right there. And it's, if you don't do this, you almost don't have the green light to even learn. So you have to say this bracha, every time in the morning, and then you can start your day. So it says, if it happens, he must modify the verse and say, and I, in the abundance of mercy, will come into his house. I will bow down toward his holy sanctuary in reverence of him. How good and pleasant it would be that they would place a charity box for the poor of the city at the entranceway of the shul, so that everyone who comes inside will make a small donation. The rich man should not give more, and the poor man should not give less than the paruta, which is the lowest value currency every day. When donating, a person should recite, I through charity will behold your consonants. This is a great and very beneficial custom. It says, I have accustomed myself to say the following petition. Sometimes I add things according to the need of the hour. For any distress may it not come. Let a wise man hear and add his teaching. Behold, I'm going to the synagogue to unite the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Ishkina. In the morning with the right arm, in the evening with the left arm, and I am prepared to give tzedakah in order to provide satisfaction to our Creator for the sake of the exaltation of the power of His divine presence, to atone for my sins and the sins of my fathers, and to elevate their souls, and to elevate the soul of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes. May the zechus of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes protect us so that we may serve our Creator and complete and wholesome service for length of days and years of life. May no tragedy befall us, nor any plague enter our house. And in the zechus of Rabbi Meir, may all of my children be saintly, perfect in character, intellect, and all forms of perfection. And may the God of Rabbi Meir answer me, I in righteousness shall behold your countenance. May I be sated with when I am awake with your image, and may we walk in the house of God with enthusiasm. How awesome is this place! This is not but the house of God and the gate of heaven. I got to tell you now, this is like the second prayer that we've come across that really you just want to keep. These are like gems. These are gems to keep with you at all times. So it continues on. It says, however, one may not recite all this except when he arrives early to the shul, when no other person is present. But when there are other people inside and outside the shul, it appears like haughtiness to stand and pray by the entranceway. And one may recite the prayer in the privacy of his home or on his way to the shul if the roadway is clean. Nonetheless, one should minimally say at the door of the shul at the verse, and I, in your abundant mercy, etc. So remember, we talked about this, don't be a peacock, right? Don't go flaunting, your... like you're a tzaddik in front of everyone. So it says the primary concern in the service of Hashem is the intent of one's heart. And a person should be fearful, trembling, quivering, and shuddering at the thought of entering the place of the king when he's actually a vessel filled with shame and embarrassment. And he should have in mind when he recites, and I in the abundance of your mercy enter your house, etc., that he is unworthy of entering the place of the king. For if it is not for his great kindness and in the zechus of his early fathers, he should have in mind when he says your mercy, that this is an allusion to Avraham Avinu and the paragon of kindness, and your holiness, that this is an allusion to Yitzhak Avinu, who was sanctified on the altar, and with your reverence for you, this is an allusion to Yaakov Avinu, who said, how revered is this place. We rely upon the zechut to enter in the holy place, and as a result, each living being will take this thought to heart, and stand in the shul in fear and trepidation, shivering and trembling. He will not engage in any mundane talk, has v'shalom, in the honor of the Divine One that resides there. And is well known in the Zohar HaKadosh in Tumrah 131b, severely condemns anyone who speaks in shul. This is now a few times they're mentioning this, and it's a big problem in our generation, the constant chattering, especially among the women's side. Very big mistake. So it says it describes him as someone who disgraces the divine presence and has no portion in the God of Israel. See there. So as a person's hair should stand on the end when he understands the severity of the matter, and all hearts are pained that it has become something permitted in the eyes of many common people. So it says, it makes no difference that they sometimes hear about the seriousness of this matter from rabbis, Even so, they do not abandon their evil custom, and people continue as if nothing has changed. Woe unto such people for the day of justice, for the day of reproof. So again, it's true. I think a lot of people go on as if there will never be a reckoning of our crimes. And, you have people, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and they're still with the same behavior. They learn nothing. So Lo Aleinu, this should never be the case for us. So it says, this plague has spread most profusely on the days of joy and happiness, Yom Tovim, on the night of Simchat Bet Simchat Bet Hashaova, the day of Simchat Torah and Purim, etc. Due to the pleasantness of the joyous occasion, people increase their laughter and levity. Anyone who has the power to protest should do so for the sake of the honor of his name. If a person does not have the ability to object, he should be careful to conduct himself as one who is mute and not open his mouth at all. It's, I think really, I think people try to shame you for not wanting to talk in the shul. I think this is something we have to band together. We really have to band together. This can't be, you can't let, like they say, they can't let the roosters run the roost. You have to, put your foot down on this matter. It's very serious. It really affects everyone in the shul. It's a very serious thing. So it says there are individuals who want to be careful about not speaking in the synagogue, but when others speak to them, it seems embarrassing or haughty not to respond to them and tell them that he does not converse in the shul. And as a result, he too speaks with a heavy heart, but eventually it becomes to him like something which is permitted. So if you don't put your foot down now, you let it go once, it'll happen twice, it'll happen 3 times, and before you know it, it's a habit. It says, a man who fears Hashem will be seized with trembling at the thought of the gravity of this matter, and he will not be embarrassed to declare, I will not speak in the shul. This can be compared to someone from who they want to steal an enormous sum or kill him. So if you got somebody coming up to you, just tell him, we'll speak after all the davening. Nice to see you. So it says, he will not be worried about embarrassment or anything else in order to find a safe haven. How much more so does one need to have pity on his soul and the honor of his creator? This is the fundamental principle. One must not violate any prohibition or refrain from the fulfillment of any mitzvot due to embarrassment. About this, it was said in Avot 5:20, be as fierce as a leopard to do the will of your Father in Shemaim. A person who is careful in this matter will not only save himself from severe punishment, but will also be granted a reward like one who performs a mitzvah. He is fulfilled in Vayikra 19:30. And my mikdash you will revere, for the shul is considered to be like a miniature Beit HaMikdash, and one needs to venerate it. So again, somebody's coming up to you, tell them we'll speak after, and then afterwards, when it is a time that's permissible to speak, then at that point explain to them why, so that they don't think that you're just trying to be goody two shoes, or that you're trying to be the peacock, flaunting your your little tzedekah self out there. Just explain to them, you're very afraid. You've heard the consequences that happen after speaking in the shul, and you're very afraid, and you didn't want to cause punishment for yourself and for you, Habibi. I'm looking out for you as well. And who can fault you for that, right? So it says, indeed, included in the reverence for the shul is refraining from shouting, even just to call another person or to protest against people who are acting inappropriately. Rather, when a man wants to speak to someone, he should go near them and speak softly and pleasant words with respect, like one who stands in the place of the king. And I see how people stand before ministers and judges with great respect, and no boisterous sound or response is heard, just a small, delicate voice. This is a cause of great lament. Even the non-Jews who worship idols stand with great respect, fear, and awe when they visit their places of worship. In truth, a person who stands before a judge sees that which is before him. If he wants to speak any frivolous talk, the judge's anger will confound him, and the king's wrath is likened unto angels of death. This is very true. If you were in a court case, there'd be no speaking while the court is in session. So why are we giving less kavod to the creator of the world? And by the way, our Father, who is the king, he is the king. He's the big one. So why are we speaking in the shul? We wouldn't do it in the courthouse. We should not be doing it in the shul. So it says, this is not so regarding one who stands in the shul, who does not see that which is before him, and from whom retribution is not exacted immediately. Rather, in the way that a person wants to go, heaven will allow him to proceed. If you want to be on the Derek Emet, Shemaim is going to help you. If you want to be on a bad path, you don't want to change yourself, guess what? Heaven's going to help you. So it says his Yetzirah stands ready on his right to prosecute him aggressively, incites him to violate the will of his creator. This is the source of all man's evil on this earth. And however, a man's obligation for one who is a Jew, who believes with complete faith in the existence of Hashem, the awesome and fearful King, whose glory fills the entire world, whose light and divine presence appears strongly in his holy place, who supervises all the ways of man to recompense each person according to his ways, who pays a man for even his casual speech, whether for good or for bad, today to do to them, and tomorrow to receive the reward and punishment, is to control his Yetzirah. So that's even scary. That's really something to think about. That kind of just made the hairs on my arms stand up. It's really true. Hashem's listening to every single word we're saying. So even when we're speaking to your coworker, speaking to your neighbor, speaking to the person at the store, have to be on guard what's coming out of our mouths, because someone's paying attention. So it says this is his responsibility, and so it is befitting for the purpose of every human being. Fortunate is a man who fears God in every place, especially in the holy sanctuary. He is silent before him. The man's voice will not be heard when he enters the holy site to speak with his friend. In medieval Torah sages established a great protective device not to speak with one's friend, even words of Torah in the shul, in order that others should not suspect him of idle talk and come to grant permission to themselves for the same. So this is talking about the fences that the sages put in place kind of to safeguard against this, because one thing leads to another. You know how it is. You get to talking, you start off one thing, and then it's on to idle chit chat. So it says the carefulness not to talk a shul applies even during the time when there's no prayer being said. So really leave that, leave where they daven, leave that place, and then you have your conversation. It says, however, during prayer itself, even not in the shul, a person needs to be diligent not to speak from the beginning until the end of prayer. The saying of our sages in Berachot 6a, the prayer of a person is not heard except in the synagogue, is well known. Furthermore, they said in Berachot 8a, whoever has a synagogue in a city and does not enter is called a bad neighbor and causes exile unto himself. Therefore, it is proper for a person to make a great effort to pray in the shul. Even if he is praying by himself, he should go to the shul and pray. All the more so, he must exert himself to pray in the shul with the congregation. So if you have a minyan, make it there. Make it there. Make it your priority to be there. Even if you don't have a minyan but you have a shul, make it your priority to be there. So it says, one should not pray alone or even in his home with a quorum of 10 unless there is some compelling reason. By doing so, he loses much good. This is sufficient for someone who has a good heart. For someone who does not have a good heart, these words and others like them will not penetrate. So he's closing it off with a very, very sharp statement. Everything he's just said, if you're the person that has a good heart, you're going to take what he just said and you're going to put it into practice, and you're going to really try to work on this. If you're somebody who, Lo Aleinu, I hope that we don't have anyone like that listening, but if you're the type of person who just has this very bad midot and you don't want to hear anything, you don't want to hear a reproof, you're going to end up being the person that keeps talking and doesn't even feel bad about it, doesn't even faze him, and nor do you want to hear about it. So, but there you have it. Very big, very, very, very big lesson to learn here. Very big problem in our generation, especially among the women in the shul. Hashem should help us at all times to be able to be tactful, to say what we have to say without offending our brother or sister. But most of all, we have to defend the kavod of Hashem. Just like I said before, if we wouldn't be speaking during the court proceeding, we shouldn't be speaking in shul. So that's it for today, and I hope we'll all be together again soon. Bezrat Hashem.